Just setting us to go live on YouTube. And that is done.
You're going to have to teach me how to do that soon, Paul.
I'd be more than happy to.
Thanks.
All right, so now we will call the meeting to order. This is the August 18, 2021 Planning Advisory Committee. Under the authority granted in Act 302 of the 2020 regular legislative session, City Planning Commission certifies that it will convene a Planning Advisory Committee meeting on this date, 2 p.m. via teleconference to hear matters that are critical to the continuation of the business of the commission. They cannot be changed. And this committee is made up of city agencies who provide advice to the City Planning Commission and real estate and records concerning land use matters. And the first item on our agenda is item number 1, a request by Chanel Lofton for the sale of a portion of land dedicated as a crosswalk in the East Shore subdivision in the 3rd Municipal District in Square G, and adjacent municipal address of the property is 14550 Tilbury Road. And I'm going to pull up a map of the area. And do you all see a map of the Tilbury area?
Yes.
Okay. And do we have an applicant available for this? Some additional people are joining the meeting.
I think it would be Miss Lofton if anybody. Is Ms. Lofton here? Okay, well, if not, I'll get started introducing it. Essentially, Ms. Lofton had approached us about some crosswalks in this area. Specifically the one that runs next to her house on Tilbury. Her house is 14550 Tilbury. It looks like it's in the East Shore subdivision. You know, these are dedicated crosswalks, but this one is apparently presenting some issues for the adjacent landowners. You know, we did discuss that in the past. We have considered moving forward with an agreement where the 4 adjoining property owners would each take 1/4 into their adjoining lots, but that if the utility profile or the need for the crosswalk was possibly significant, that we might not be able to move forward with this. I'm sorry she's not here to join us today. She was given the link for the Zoom meeting. Again, is Ms. Lofton on the call? Are we locked up?
What do you mean locked up?
I don't know. Mine's saying my internet connection is unstable. I don't know. Can you hear me?
I see a lot of guests, but I don't see Lofton.
Okay. Well, so, with that, this is, we've addressed crosswalks like this before, but I wanted everybody to take a look at it and give their opinion.
My memory of the last one that came up was that we did not advance it based on the fact that the design of this neighborhood was created so that these walkways can provide access between very, very long blocks, and looks like that is the kind of situation we have here. What were the issues that were described to you with the property?
Lack of maintenance.
There's no sidewalk, I take it.
Right.
No paved walkway.
I think the pavement's fine. Maybe it's has some overgrowth. I don't know.
It's severely overgrown, and you know, in the future, I guess we would have. I'm sorry that we didn't upload a photograph of this. Ava, just take a note of this. We, you know, if we're going to talk about the condition, we should probably include a photo with our agenda item. But you know, if you look at it on Google Maps, it's very overgrown. But if the feeling is that, you know, the crosswalk is needed for a public purpose, from DPW's perspective, you know, that's fine by me. You know, I told Ms. Lofton that all we could do was ask, you know, given the lack of maintenance.
I'm trying to look at it on Google Maps, and is it possible that it is already fenced in by adjacent property owners?
Yeah, it's not overgrown.
Okay.
It's actually
Well,
pretty clean. I don't know what pictures you saw.
Actually, she maintains it, and as does her neighbor. It's the properties behind it or below it. I can't see the numbers on the other side. They don't maintain to the sidewalk as required.
Well, I think they may have removed their section of it, possibly the neighbor behind them. But I see what you're saying. You think that between the sidewalk and her next door neighbor, you think it's overgrown along the fence line?
We have lots of problems in this particular with these sidewalks. Property owners don't maintain it, and often the sidewalks are not maintained, or crosswalks, or whatever you want to call them.
That's fine. I mean, in this case, I mean, it's very cleanly maintained, but the neighbors have obviously gotten together and put together the same fence for a couple of blocks. So there does seem to be some kind of neighborhood unified gate project to block these crosswalks.
I'm sorry, you guys. So Ava's having trouble connecting, but she came in to tell me that what Tika said is correct. Ms. Lofton's complaint was that she's keeping up her side of the crosswalk and the other people are not, and it's creating a problem for her. And would it be possible to purchase it? So I'm sorry that I said it was overgrown next to her. I think it's the part in the rear.
Right. Our neighbor to the rear is either, I mean, basically the lawn's extended over it. You know, I don't know if they removed their sidewalk entirely. Like they could have just demolished it, for all I know.
So are we suggesting that I should refer this to code enforcement as to the neighbors in the rear?
Yes.
Would it be,
If we can't sell, I would refer to code enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to find a time in history when that walk was there.
We have lot.
It hasn't been there. It hasn't been paved back there since 2007 at least.
So are you suggesting that a case be open for DPW sidewalk maintenance?
Not sidewalk maintenance. It was possibly just removed by the homeowner. I mean, it's
Right.
essentially like a sidewalk in front of your house, you know? Uh, you know, and I guess it's hard to know who removed it, but it seems to be a continuation of the property in the rear of the subject property. Whose lawn is extended over it, but I can't really say for sure whether it was removed or it was never there. I don't know. I would say towards what Paul's saying, though, it is a subdivision kind of creation thing.
I don't disagree, but yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. So if that's the position, then that's fine.
I mean, there's, it's not just this block that has that, it's the block, on the other side of Tilbury, and then the other side of Duane, which seems to go to some, common green space.
Okay, any further comments?
Not really. I mean, I would just say, just be, again, it is something that comes up a lot. So, I mean, I just would just say we should be consistent with how we treat them, with how we treat this one, with what we did.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we would suggest, because it comes up often and it's a total lack of maintenance, that that we be allowed to sell these crosswalks.
I mean, it all comes down to how, I don't want to say it comes down to, but I mean, you can't just sell them because someone wants to buy them, because sometimes they are maintained, sometimes they have been maintained, and I'm sure they're sometimes used, and other times, certain neighborhood may not care for them at all and blocks them off with gates like they've done here. So we're going to have cases where people just want the property, but they are kind of more of a used community asset. So, we can't just sell them because someone wants to buy them.
The question posed to the committee is it no longer needed for a public purpose? So in your opinion, Louis, it's needed for a public purpose, correct?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that you can't assume because someone wants to buy it that it's not used for public purpose. You'd have to do more investigating. I don't know what the criteria would be. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't, it's probably more of I don't know, it might be more of like a planning thing or something to make that determination on a case-by-case basis. I think DPW would love to have them and keep them open everywhere, but I think we can also see that sometimes they, if they're just abandoned and not going to be maintained, or if there's community consensus or neighborhood has consensus that, they don't want it. And, I don't know, if whoever the city's responsible for that wants to go along with that, then.
Louis, isn't that the responsibility of the property owner to maintain the sidewalk in front of their home?
It is, but what do you do if there's a shared sidewalk between, I mean, the most they could do would be to, I guess, keep their side of that thing clear, or their half of it clear. I don't know. I mean, it's just a single slab shared between, in a common, basically a common alley between the two. So it's hard to say. I mean, yeah, you got to keep your grass cut, but I think there's a little bit of a gray area in this case. But I think it's a code enforcement issue, absolutely. If you're, if the grass isn't cut, if it's going over your fence, that sort of thing. Yeah. And I think it would be also a code enforcement issue if, someone puts a gate across it or parks a car in it or parks a boat in it, all things that we see. You know, so a lot of times one property owner just takes it, you know. It could be the case in this neighborhood since everyone, you know, since you kind of have the same gate on both sides, you know, maybe, you know, the 4 houses or 3 of these, you know, folks got together and, you know, got a fence company to put a fence across it because that's what they wanted to do in their neighborhood. You know, I don't know. I've never seen this particular version of it before where people put a swinging gate across it, but, you know, maybe they felt they needed to do that for, you know, for security issues or whatever. You know, it's just, you know, the different neighborhoods are different, you know, and some places keep them open and some don't. So, you know, we can't automatically sell them. But if you want to make the decision that they could all be abandoned, you know, maybe that could be like a comprehensive decision. You know, not all of them everywhere, but, you know, like a certain stretch or something.
And this, Jen, is for the entire, between the 2 streets, the entire walkway?
I think in the past, what we've determined is that the only fair way to proceed is to let each adjacent property owner have the opportunity to purchase a quarter if they're all interested in doing so. Which would be complicated, and I've only seen it actually finalized and achieved that way maybe once or twice in my files. But I agree with you that this is a large super block, and this is the only crossover for some distance. So if we want to have an objection, that's fine.
Well, we can leave that objections for the after the recess.
Sure. Okay, let's move on.
All right. The next item is request by the LDG Development for the sale of a portion of Lasat Street that runs from Gallier Street to Alvar Street, located in the 3rd Municipal District, Florida Development, Square 1476A. I'll pull up the attachment. You all seeing the conceptual civil site plan?
Yes.
Yes.
So, and let's see. Where would Lasat Street be on this site plan?
Hello, if I can help, my name is Josh Haston. I'm with LDG Development.
Oh, yes, please.
It might help to provide a little bit of context here. So,
Hi, Josh. Thank
hello.
you.
I also have Gian Jordan, who's the Director of Development at Hano on the call.
Good afternoon, everybody.
So this particular property is owned by Hano. And actually the right-of-way contained within Lasat Place was also previously owned by Hano, but was dedicated to the city back in 2004 under a different ordinance. I've got that on another screen if you would like me to send that or share that with you guys. But I think instead of actually selling the right-of-way to us, I think what would be more beneficial to the project would instead just to shift the right-of-way, which is Lasat. That's that little curvy little stretch that cuts through the center of the property. If we could shift that either to the south ever so slightly, and we would hope to be able to actually build out a greenway that would be shared publicly with everyone given that it is a public right of way for the entire area, instead of just purchasing it and it being a publicly owned private park. Additionally, what we could also do instead of just selling the property would be to either just annul a portion of that former ordinance and
So,
rededicate.
Could I interrupt you for a second? Just because we've got a long agenda and we're limited on time. This is a technical committee which provides advice to the City Planning Commission. Whatever we decide to structure as far as an exchange or, you know, a swap or whatever, you know, that's, you know, can probably be a separate conversation. What we want to do today is to get a sense of the Lasat right of way and whether there's utilities in it, whether there's a perceived traffic issue, and things like that. I think, you know, for the purpose of this meeting, you know, we'll just, we can call it the sale or exchange. Unless, Paul, you think you need to know what the exchange is for before we can move forward.
No, although, can you just briefly say what it would be for?
Go ahead, Josh. I think he's suggesting that Lasat be moved down in terms of, I guess, south on this plan. That's really hard to follow when we don't like have anything in front of us. But go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I'll be brief. Yes, so what we would like to do is just shift the existing right of way of Lasat Place or Lawsat Place south. I mean, even if it's just like 20 feet, or just rededicate a portion that was previously dedicated to the city back to Hanno. So either of those options would be a good substitute in our opinion.
But are we
And the
talking
space would essentially, I'm sorry, this is Gian with Hanno. This essentially the site would become a green space or a greenway for the newly developed phase 2 of Florida. And
And
so
are
we're
you-
creating.
Are you
I'm
saying
sorry.
that you would rededicate this portion down here with the parking spaces all along it as a street?
No. So just the portion that has the greenway.
See where the trees run through the center of the
Oh.
property? Yeah.
Rededicated as a park. You're swapping the street for a park?
No, so what we would, yeah, I guess technically, yes, that would be desirable.
At that point, parks, you know, that park would be maintained by Hanno in all of its
Yes. LDG.
manifestations, although you would allow anybody from the public to be in it.
Correct.
Okay.
So
I'm
the
sorry,
only-
this is Speaker Hartman with the Department of Parks and Parkways. Basically, what you've done though, with the parking lots aligned like that, is it becomes the street. It in essence becomes Lasat. People are just, you know, will just drive through parking lots to get from Gallier to Alvar.
I think you're misunderstanding where that parking
pardon?
showing behind the purple buildings, that is actually Hanno property. That is not within the existing right of way.
But what I'm getting at is that gated?
No, it would be,
Then in all practicality, it becomes a street. In all practicality, all you've done is move Lasat Street down to the parking lot. So if you wanted to get from Gallier Street to Alvar, you just drive through the parking lot.
You don't think you would use law?
I beg your pardon?
Wouldn't you just use law?
I'm so sorry. I beg your pardon.
Law Street?
Did I? I'm sorry, is that Lewis? You're laughing at me. What am I saying?
I said, I think you would just use Law Street to get from Gallier to Alvar.
You could.
Yeah.
But I mean, but basically you could use Law, you could use Florida, but basically all you're doing is making another street. You're just calling it a parking lot.
I mean, I think there's maybe something to that in terms of, you can maybe cut off the, one of the driveways of the parking lot or something, I guess. Or if you were to see issues coming from that, you could always modify it at some point. I don't think we'd object from a circulation pattern. I think we'd probably expect people to use Law just because you're going to be able to use that faster without having to worry about people pulling out or anything.
If I was in Independence and I wanted to get to Alvar, I'd go straight through the parking lot. I wouldn't bother to go out to Law.
Well, maybe not.
But that's beyond my technical expertise.
So Joshua, what is the number of units versus parking spaces in this plan?
I don't know the number of parking spaces overall, but the total density across the site is 308 units. Each of the pale purple on the north side bordering Florida, as well as the eastern side bordering Maison, those are 2-story buildings. The pink building in the central fronting Alvar Street is a 3-story building, and then the other shaded purple are 2-story townhomes.
I have a question. Is LaSalle Street pretty much an area where the bike pad is with the streets on each side? I mean, trees on each side of the
Yes, that is
bicycle path? That's where LaSalle Street is.
correct.
Somewhere right. Okay.
Correct. And from my understanding, that street has been basically closed off since it's been dedicated to the city since 2004.
Okay.
That is my understanding. So it is not.
So when Hanno gave it back to us, we never redeveloped it. It's just, okay.
So I have a question. So is it just LaSalle Street? It's not the portion that goes through Congress, Independence, Pauline. It's just within the right of way of LaSalle Street. It's not the cross street that's in consideration.
Correct.
Not the cross streets, right?
Correct.
Okay, because I was gonna, if it was the cross street, then there's utilities there. But if you're not considering portions of Congress and Independence and Pauline, okay, that's what I was needed clarification.
And Joshua, do you know have you done a zoning analysis whether or not you would be able to do this by right, or would you need a plan development or something else?
So it's zoned HU NU2, and so we would be able to do this by right. The only thing that we would need to do is re-subdivide the property through the proper channels, because there's a few lots that we would need to combine or reshift, but that's it.
I mean, to me, it seems like the cleanest way would be for Hanno to just get those street pieces back and build, the greenway that they want to build, and then kind of have the freedom to do what they want in there in terms of, benches and trees and stuff, without it having to, always be some kind of right-of-way maintenance and permitting issue with us.
I agree with Lewis. I think it would be much cleaner just to go ahead and give it back, or however, let Hanno have it back, however we choose to do the payment, but rather than shifting anything to another green space. And then there's a question of who's maintaining the park and all of that. It's just much cleaner if it's all Hano.
Yeah, so I didn't want to get into all of this on the meeting, but Hano is actually in the process of giving us some other streets back in another development. So it may be that the square footage ends up working out for that to be an exchange. That's like a possibility that we're looking into. I guess we wanted to find out, is there any traffic or utility issue that would prevent us from looking at that with Lasat? And it sounds like there's not, so long as we don't include the, intersections on Congress, Independence, and Pauline. Is that accurate?
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, I would just maintain just go to the right of way of those streets, and that would be fine.
Okay.
If it were a middle section of a longer path, then I'd probably maintain it as a city right of way just to have the control of it. But I think in this case, it's more of just a development feature. So.
Jennifer, this is Gian with Hano.
Hey.
Not to belabor your call. Hey, I just want to understand if we go this path, I want to understand what that looks like. Is that a request coming from us to undo what has been done in the past, or how do we kind of move forward on that? And we don't have to talk about that on this call, but maybe getting together sometime later this week and trying to flush that out.
Yeah, I think probably the next step is to get a survey and an accurate square footage figure for what you're talking about us giving back to Hano versus what we're currently about to receive from Hano. And then we can talk through that with the law department. But the purpose of this meeting is just to make sure there's no objections from a technical standpoint.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions or comments for the LDG development or Hano? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to our next item. The next item, number 3, is request for the sale of a movable property located in the 3rd Municipal District in the Littlewood subdivision, section 6, square 161. The municipal address is 11101 Zenith Street. Map of Zenith Street. This is just a regular lot, huh, Jen?
It is. We did include the plat as an attachment for this, if that would be probably more helpful to look at.
Oh, yeah, look at that one.
So we actually had received a request from District E that there are some issues with overgrown vegetation from this undeveloped lot. And so it was inquired whether we could move forward with placing it on the agenda to consider surplusing it. And we were acquired in the 70s. We're just talking about the 24, 25, 26, 27. Right, Ava?
24th. It's a corner of Zenith and Lucerne.
Yeah. Okay.
Any comments from Sewage and Water Board, DPW, any utilities?
No, no big issues. I mean, it just comes down to the development of it, but yeah, as soon as it's going to an adjacent property owner, I don't have any issues.
Well, because it's just a lot, it's going to be going to the highest bidder.
Oh, it's just an auction. Okay, great.
All right.
Looks like there might be another one on the block too. Saw that too.
Yeah, in the middle, yeah. That one's a little bit. We're being asked about 24th or 27 at the moment.
Got it.
Yes, there's no sewer, all the sewer and the water is in the street. So there's no objection from Sewage and Water Board.
Okay, well, this one sounds easy compared to the others, so we're ready to move on. Any last chance? Any questions or comments? All right. Going to go on to item number 4. Request by L. Stacker for the sale of a portion of land dedicated as a crosswalk in the Lakeland Acres subdivision in the 3rd Municipal District in Square 18, and adjacent municipal address of the property is 4900 Redwood and/or 4882 Redwood. I'll pull it up on Property Viewer rather than the attachment. I might see better.
Is Miss Stacker on the phone? I don't see her as a participant. This is a crosswalk in Lakeland Acres. I suppose it kind of falls in the same category as the Tilbury.
I've got very long street or block. Doesn't look like it goes any further than Sandalwood. Looks like it goes from Sandalwood to Reed.
Yeah, I think there is another one to Lurline.
Really?
Yeah,
It's not really shown in Property Viewer.
Yeah, it doesn't show in Property Viewer.
yeah. And maybe it's already gone, but looks like there was one. It goes to the back of the property on the west side of Lurline, and then stops.
This little, I mean, you can't really trust the lot lines on Property Viewer to be exact, but it does look like there's a accessory structure on Reed encroaching into that walkway.
Mhm.
Not part of this request, but part of the planned walkway system.
Yeah, I mean, DPW doesn't have any particular objection to these, you know. subject to CPC review.
And why wouldn't you have, or you didn't have an objection to the other one, or?
No, I mean, we don't have a fundamental objection to removing them, but it's to removing. I mean, as long as, I think that as long as it could somehow be justified, that they're actually abandoned, I mean, is kind of what I was trying to say. That, I think we've sold them before. So, we don't have it's not like we have like a zero tolerance to selling them. But, unless, unless CPC does, in order to maintain, the integrity of the subdivision, want to take a hard stance to it, the expectation that somehow we're going to, start enforcing these things and reestablishing them. But again, I think it's a case by case thing. Obviously here you have people building buildings on them. I'm seeing cars parked in this one. So it's, it's just different in different neighborhoods, is what I was trying to say before. You just take it on a case by case basis. That's what we would say. But I mean, of course, we appreciate them, especially the ones that work and that sort of thing, and certainly the intent behind them. But it is what it is at this point.
All right, and no utilities in the walkway, sewage and water board?
No, not a current tower maps, unit maps.
All right, any last comments or questions on this item? All right, hearing none, we'll move on.
Is there a distinction when they've actually been constructed versus when they clearly have not been?
I think that, it's going to be hard to say whether they were constructed in the first place just because they're, they happen to not be there or seem to not be there anymore. Sometimes they're going to be covered by grass, or sometimes they might have been demolished, or even have fences built across them. So, I tend to think that, you don't have any like paper crosswalks that, when these things were first built, they all were paved and they were all there.
Okay.
So I wouldn't assume that there were any just that were never built, that were supposed to be built.
And this last call, who was the applicant on that one, Jennifer? L Stacker?
Mrs. Stacker.
Do we have an L Stacker on the call? Okay. I think we can move on then. Next, we move into the non-CPC items. Item
Hello?
number 5. Yes, Ashley?
Hi, no, that's Ava. I had to use her. My mic isn't working on my computer. I just wanted to clarify before we moved on to non-CPC items. So we're saying no on the, there's an objection to the Tilbury walkway, but we're saying we can move forward with the Redwood walkway.
We haven't said anything yet. We're going to vote after the recess.
Okay, sorry. Okay, thanks.
No problem. And so, yeah, next item is request for the long-term lease of a portion of ground known as Chippewa Street between Market and Richard Streets at the request of adjacent property owner squares 107 and 93, First Municipal District, bounded by Market and Richard Streets.
Hi, Louis. This is Jen. So look, I'm bringing this up again. sort of at the end of last year, Alan and Keith had come to the point where I guess they were getting comfortable with the idea of us at least generating revenue from the closure of the site by Second Line Studios. It kind of came across my desk, I think, because and Paul, you may know, there's something else going on development wise in terms of the expansion of Second Line Studios, maybe to even a further area near here. I'm sorry, I can't remember what it was, but go
That's
ahead.
correct. There's a zoning docket pending. They're trying to change I think the zoning of that sort of grass lot across the street, which I believe they currently use for parking.
So they've had the block closed off at least 3 years, if not more. So I just wanted to actually get something on the record as to whether with Keith gone, whether the current DPW leadership was still comfortable with a long-term ground lease. And if you need to get back to me about that, Louis, that's fine.
This is another view of it.
Yeah, I mean, we can say, further review for the sake of this meeting, or, we probably will say that, but yeah, I mean, I think that's the direction we're going.
Well, Joyce, would you be okay with that if we included within the lease, provisions for access for Sewage and Water Board?
Yes. Yes. Well, back in April, this 24, 2019, Sewage and Water Board had stated a full width servitude along Chippewa Street.
Okay.
For maintenance purposes, because there's sewer and water in this location, and no permanent structures are to be built within the servitude, and Sewage and Water Board would need full ingress and egress also for maintenance and our replacement of the utilities. So Sewage and Water, we have no objections to a lease.
Okay.
Subject to a servitude.
Great, thank you.
And because this is one that we won't be voting on later, we just state clearly, sounded like there was no objection to the lease, subject to further review by DPW, and no objection by Sewage and Water Board, subject to a full width servitude. In favor of Sewage and Water.
No permanent structures and full ingress and egress as
All
well.
that good stuff. Okay. Any other questions or comments or concerns?
Have any impact on their zoning docket, Paul?
It's coming up August 24th.
Does the street matter at all to that, or?
Oh, no.
Okay.
It's this portion down here where you see all these cars parked.
Okay. Well,
We are recommending denial though, because it's not consistent with the master plan, but
okay.
and that doesn't affect the street.
Okay.
Our next item is request number 6, a request for a subsurface utility servitude in the 2nd Municipal District adjacent to Square 432 beneath and through a city-owned parcel known as the McKay Place Spot, formerly Bakewell Triangle Park. Property is adjacent to the intersection of Mound Avenue and Rosemary Place and is shown in Property Viewer with municipal address of 5730 Woodlawn Place.
Okay, so I think we have Catherine Haverhill here from Verizon, who's looking to kind of finalize some plans for this project. Recently got an email from the executive director for NORD, and they sort of want to follow the recommendation of the Department of Public Works in terms of the location. I don't know if you want me to read that, Kai, or do you want to kind of explain what your thinking was, or?
Sorry, repeat that one more time. This is for number 6 that we emailed with Javier about.
Yes.
From his standpoint was he didn't have any objection to their plan going along the fence, but that they would have to make sure, like he was okay with 15, was it 15 feet or I think 15 feet under, and to make sure that there's no nothing close to the surface, because they have to go under that train railway. But it seems that they had a stalling point. They had objection to that.
So the plan that they have submitted, I guess they have to come at the track from a perpendicular at a specific spot. So they did not want to go along the fence line. They wanted to crisscross the, and I'm sorry if that's not attached to the agenda.
Jen, this is Catherine with KGI. I can help add some details to it.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm working on behalf of Verizon. My company is KGI Wireless, but Verizon is looking, the cell site is actually, you're correct, it's on the south side of the tracks at the church there, is where the actual cell site is. The closest right of way to get the fiber, the conduit and fiber across is to go towards Mound Avenue. And we've been working with the railroad for a while and had proposed a different route. And Jen's correct, that route, there were some restrictions on the railroad that we could not meet. There were some buildings, railroad buildings that had to be avoided and some other stipulations. So we've proposed this new route to go kind of to the west of the original route that we were looking at. And that makes it go across the park. We do need to, I heard the 15 feet number thrown out, so I wanted to just talk about that. One of the railroad requirements is that we bury the conduit at 15 feet, crossing underneath the tracks. So the typical, once we get out of that range, out from underneath the tracks, the conduit's usually buried at 3 feet, but I'm hearing a 15-foot number. So I just wanted to clarify that as well. Excuse me, as well.
Yeah, so what the New Orleans Recreation Department's concern is that we don't want to disturb future park development. And so the recommendation that was coming from DPW is that the fiber should run parallel to the fence and that it should be at a depth of 15 feet on our property as well.
So I can speak just for as terms like construction. I'll work with our engineers on this, but to get the handhole at the right of way there on Mound, it's kind of not feasible to go from 15 to surface level. So it will have to go back up to meet that handhole at ground level.
I'm sorry,
What is
that last word you were saying? Hand?
Yeah, the handhole, which is that box, the junction box. I think we've also spoken about that term. Just the box that would be meeting at the right of way. So on the drawings that I provided, there's a box that would be the fiber pool box. That's what they pull the fiber through on that conduit. So it's just like a utility box that would be a junction box to pull the fiber through that conduit. So it's somehow it's going to need to come to ground level. So I don't, and again, I can work with our engineers and our construction team, but I can say that it will need to creep up back to ground level. I mean, at one point, it's not going to be 15 feet all the way through the park.
Well,
But
I guess we'd like to see a plan that shows like, you know, a minimal area that is close to the surface, like whatever and, you know, I understand that there's some logistics with that, but, you know, we just don't want to be dealing with anything that's going to inhibit, you know, our future plans if we decide to do something different than the current playground configuration.
Okay, I can definitely get with our construction team and just see the feasibility of the depth, like as deep as we could go. And then again, I can also look into getting a route that would be parallel, more parallel to the fence line. Is that what we're looking for here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any more comments, questions, concerns to be expressed on item 7? You got the information you need, Jen?
I think
Yes,
that
I
was,
do.
that
Thank
was
you,
item
everybody.
right.
Go ahead, Kai.
That was item 6. You said 7.
No, that was, oh yeah, sorry, 6, yeah.
Okay.
And then our next item, item 7, I believe was withdrawn.
Would like to be removed from this agenda.
I could barely hear that. What was that?
I said, yes, they would like to be removed from this agenda.
Okay. Removed at the applicant's request. And then we go on to number 8, which is, stop sharing. Number 8, request for a servitude of air and ground rights for steps, landings, railings, and overhang over the Jenna and Annunciation Street right-of-way adjacent to the 6th Municipal District, Square 144, Lot 13A by Hamilton Family Trust. The municipal address of the property is 600 Jenna Street.
Is that conference room?
Yes, that's me. That's us. I didn't know we forwarded a document, and do you have that available? There you go. Perfect. Just as a point of clarification, we're not requesting an overhang per se. There's an existing overhang in the front. So just as a point of clarification, there are 2 areas on this that we're dashing in red, and one of them is already an existing stoop and front awning in the front of the property facing Jenna Street. This is a corner lot. What we're requesting in the addition in the rear is the ability to extend a stoop basically to the sidewalk. The way that the property lines are set up in this neighborhood, as opposed to other neighborhoods throughout the city, is that the property line isn't justified to the sidewalk, so it would require an extension of some sort. And so in the back, what we've done is the new stair and step that would be to the secondary means of egress to one of the units extends over the property line, stretching just in line with the sidewalk. And you can see we've put together a few documents on the lower left showing the block face and the existing pattern in this neighborhood. It really just fits with the existing pattern. All of the areas shown shaded in pink currently along both Jenna Street and Annunciation Street, crossing that plane, are overlapping their property lines along both block faces. So, we were trying to extend this in keeping with the existing pattern in the neighborhood. So it's the stoop along Annunciation Street is the proposed new stair and stoop.
Does anyone have any comments? Louis, you're on mute.
Yep, no comments from DPW. We're okay with that.
Okay, I will follow up with you guys via email for the next steps to get your permit released.
I didn't do that.
Sorry, Ashley was saying that she will follow up with you on the next steps in terms of working out an agreement and getting the permit.
Great. Okay.
Ashley, was this one you ran by HGLC?
Yes.
Okay.
You have Tracy on the line.
This is Uptown. I don't think we would have jurisdiction one way or the other.
You do under the encroachments ordinance, but we ran it by Eleanor, I think.
Okay.
Okay, great.
All right. Any more questions, comments, concerns for item number 8?
No, not at all.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, conference room.
Thank you.
And then last is going to be item number 9, because number 10 was also withdrawn at the request of the applicant. Number 9 is a request for a servitude of air and ground rights for steps, landings, railings, overhang over the Dauphine Street right-of-way adjacent to the 3rd Municipal District, Square 166, Lot 20, by Third and Company LLC. The municipal address of the property is 2610 Dauphine Street. And looks like we have Ms. Sutter to speak on this.
We were item number 10, and to my knowledge, we did not ask to be withdrawn from the agenda, St. George's Episcopal School. So I just want to make sure that we don't get taken off.
All right.
Apologies for interrupting. Thank you.
Did I get the wrong address, Ashley, or wrong item to be taken off?
Yeah, I thought I got an email saying that there was no longer an encroachment, only just the steps, and you guys were taking the ramp away.
Oh, yes, that is correct, Ashley, but I think we were confused in that we still needed to attend the meeting.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't, if I wasn't clear on that. You guys don't need to attend the meeting. We can do a whole harmless for that one. I was just waiting on the updated plans and for it to be removed from One Stop.
Oh, wonderful. And so I think they just emailed about that. Okay, great. I will follow up via email. Thank you so much. I apologize for interrupting.
Oh, no problem, no problem.
Excuse me, Ashley, and St. George's, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. I just want to point out that Parks and Parkways needs to have completion of the various caveats that we have put in place. You're aware of those, Ms. Sutter? So
Yes, ma'am.
before any lease or any other thing goes through, we'd need to have compliance.
Yes, ma'am. When I spoke to,
Danny McElmurray.
I believe I spoke to Mike most recently.
Mike, okay, all right.
he did let us know, and I believe our next step were to make sure that we got through this process, and then we needed to add in the requirements from Park and Parkways to complete our application with the city and cover all of our bases. We are aware, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all.
All right, so we've handled 10 before 9, but so back to 9. A request for, well, I've already read it. It's for the property at 2610 Dauphine Street. Do we have any applicant on the line to discuss this one? All right, does Real Estate Records want to explain this one then?
Yeah, so there's,
And if you could get as close as possible to your microphone,
can you hear me better?
that's better.
Okay, so there's an existing, I think 2 steps over the right of way, and they're looking to change it to the facing steps and landing railing combo. So I just wanted to have that reviewed just to make sure that was okay and nothing was going to be obstructed by doing that.
I mean,
Now, this one's definitely HDLC full control.
Yeah, we have reviewed it and we did write a permit for the work at the beginning of August.
All right, then, any more questions, comments, concerns, considerations? 2610 Dauphine Street. Request for servitude of air and ground rights for steps, landings, railings, overhang.
No.
where's the overhang? Ashley?
It's existing.
Oh,
I
okay.
just added it in.
Okay.
Right, then that is our last item. So we're going to go into a 5-minute recess. And we will reconvene at 3:15. Feel free to turn off your microphone and All right, I'd like to call the meeting back to order. If the committee members could turn on their cameras and microphones.
Present.
Present.
All right, we've got DPW, we've got Parks and Parkways, we have city planning, we have real estate and records. LaJoyce, are you back on for Sewage and Water Board?
Yes.
Yes. And Tracy, are you on for HDLC?
Yes.
All right. First item was the consideration of a request by Chanel Lofton for the sale of a portion of land dedicated as a crosswalk in the East Shore Subdivision, 3rd Municipal District, Square G. Adjacent property address is 14550 Tilbury Road.
I'll make a motion of no objection to the sale.
All right, we have a motion, no objection. Should we assume that you want to say that is subject to further review by city planning and real estate and records?
Sounds
Yes,
like a
that was
plan.
Perfect. Do we have a second?
Second.
And
Second by DPW. Roll call. Real estate and records.
aye.
HDLC,
Aye.
Parks and Parkways,
Aye.
DPW,
Aye.
Sewage and Water Board,
Aye.
and city planning will vote no. So we reserve our right upon further analysis to change our position. Next item is the request by LDG Development for the sale of Lasat Street for the Florida Development Project. It's between Gallier and Alvar Street. And so this is just considering a property disposition, we're not considering any acquisition or trade today.
I'll make a motion of no objection, subject to further review by CPC, Real Estate and Records, and DPW and Sewage and Water Board.
CPC, Real Estate and Records, Sewage and Water Board, and DPW? Is that the fourth one?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
That was you, Lewis?
Yes, sir.
Roll call. Real Estate and Records.
Aye.
HDLC,
Aye.
Parks and Parkways,
Aye.
Department of Public Works,
Aye.
Sewage and Water Board.
Aye.
City Planning will also vote yes. Next, request for the sale of a movable property located in the 3rd Municipal District in the Littlewood Subdivision, Section 3, Square 161. The municipal address is 11101 Zenith Street.
I'm going to make a motion of no objection, subject to further review by Real Estate and CPC.
second.
Who was that that seconded, please?
Tracy?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call. Real Estate and Records,
Aye.
HDLC,
Aye.
Parks and Parkways,
Aye.
Department of Public Works,
Aye.
Sewage and Water Board,
Aye.
and CPC will vote yes. Last item for consideration. This is the request by L. Stacker for sale of a portion of land dedicated as a crosswalk in the Lakeland Acres subdivision, 3rd Municipal District, Square 18. Municipal, adjacent municipal address is 4900 Redwood or 4882 Redwood.
I'll make a motion of no objection, subject to further review by city planning and real estate and records.
Second.
All right, roll, motion made by Real Estate and Records, seconded by DPW. Roll call, Real Estate and Records,
Aye.
HDLC,
Aye.
Parks and Parkways,
Aye.
Department of Public Works,
Aye.
Sewage and Water Board,
Aye.
City Planning Commission will vote no and reserve a right to change our position upon further analysis. And that ends our meeting today, since we do not vote on the non-CPC items. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. It was a long agenda, but it went a lot quicker than the last time.
Good job, everyone.
Yay.
Hope we can see
Yay.
each other in person one day. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
You can at least
Bye.
get camera shots for your Zoom.